Okay, Mike Masato, CEO of Staff Driven Dental and the Dental Road Warrior, returning to episode 115 in the series. Been a big gap of time since the last one. Doing a lot of personal stuff going on, mainly a wedding, and that is my inspiration for this video. I was actually going to do something else. I'll save it for the next one, but thinking about what transpired in terms of my service experience from my stepdaughter's wedding, I thought I'd share this as a great analogy of how things need to run service-wise in your practice. So let's use this analogy of a situation. We all know, for those of you that are watching this video out there, have had kids or family members get married, it is quite an event. It is usually a once-in-a-lifetime event. It is very costly. It is very involved. A lot goes into it. But the idea is you want this to be the most amazing day in the world if it's for your daughter, and have to go flawlessly and have it be a night to remember and all of that. And especially, again, when you invest that kind of money in it, you expect a level of service and professionalism that matches it all up and make it be, like I said, just a memorable, wonderful evening. And when it doesn't happen, it's quite upsetting, and often you can't go back, and you're not going to be able to go back and fix that. So let me, again, get a little experience. I mean, with what's happened recently. Booked a beautiful venue, gorgeous location, a great, everything looked great on the surface. Some little indications of maybe potential service issues happening with the staff and that we were dealing with going in. But as we went along, we managed it, we handled it. There was definitely some youth involved with the staff handling certain positions, but again, we forged ahead till the day came. Again, all in all, at the end of the day, ended up being a wonderful day. But we could see a lot of what we had paid for and what we were expected did not happen. Whereas the people that were attending to us that day were just not up to speed. There were many issues where the ball was dropped. There was things said and done that were inappropriate. There were upsets caused to members of the bridal party, members of the family, mainly us, the bride herself, and the groom. We can go on. But it was a series of errors, mistakes, missteps throughout the course of the day. That could have ended into a much more serious situation, but because we were, on it and made it go right, we avoided more than, we could have been like a serious debacle in many areas. But again, the problem being is you pay for all this and expect to get a service, and it doesn't happen. And the end of the night was a capper of the whole thing when there ended up being a very serious upset where certain members of the staff that were involved in the after party basically turned what should have been a minor situation into a huge security debacle. Getting security involved and confronting wedding guests and having it be all kinds of issues where they ended up shutting down the after party and having it be a big, being antagonistic, using bad language, situations like that, where again, their bride to the point was had to basically have to get in the face of members of the staff, and I had to intervene in some areas with other guests. It was just crazy stuff, and a way to end the night. Again, all in all, thank God it worked out. It could have been a lot worse, but afterwards, I was tasked with my wife to confront the general manager and his upper echelon team to talk about what went down, because we weren't happy, and ultimately, this experience, which they took an hour's worth of notes about, ended up being a lot of money costing them on the return, because they had to refund us a bunch of money because they wanted to make it right, because it would have been a social media nightmare for them, among other things. And quite frankly, we should have went and read the reviews of the place beforehand. We would have found out that the common review for the place was the problems with the service. Again, shouldn't be. When you have a venue like this, it should be high 4 stars. There shouldn't be reviews in the upper 3s. Does not look very good when you have something of such an elite service experience event, and that's what it is. But we didn't look it out. We obviously totally loved the event. The venue was enthralled by it, wanted it, so we forged right ahead. But ultimately, in dealing with the general, and the interesting thing as coaches and people that teach this stuff for a living with doctors and their businesses, my wife and I basically nailed it. They couldn't argue what we were saying about the issues that were going on, and all of it boiled down to, again, unprofessional younger people who are not trained properly being able to handle an adult situation. a situation that required a certain level of professionalism and people being able to handle people and knowing the what to say and how to say it and the what to do and how to do it in situations, to be on it, to make sure it goes right, rather than also compounding issues by the way you were interacting with the very people that your clientele that are spending big money on the services and basically making it sometimes worse or an antagonistic situation. Right? Can't happen. And that cost this venue a significant sum of money in return to us, which we're happy about. We should have deserved. We deserved it for what we went through, for what we had paid for. We did not get. The expectations were not served, and there was a lot of upsets and problems. But on all in all, we dodged a gigantic bullet in this particular situation. So, what's the moral of the story here? Why am I using this as an analogy? Right? We forget that dentistry, your dental practice, is a service industry, first and foremost, right? If we could get off like it was like an emergency room where we're just, people are being wheeled in an emergency and you're doing surgery and, and just getting the job done and because the person's at the brink and whatever, we're not worried about, appearances and how people talk and act and whatever. It's an emergency situation. I get that, all right? Or medical, when you expect to go in, it's like a conveyor belt situation. If you go into a clinic, an urgent care center, different experience. But when we are in a dental practice, you're in private practice. This is for most of you in private practice. I'm not talking your DSO practices here, although some of them are really working to have higher quality service models. It's all about the service. It is the one, and I've talked about this in videos way back when, right? It's the one thing that people can see and experience every day, right? And people equate poor service with bad quality, and then they don't want to pay for it. And then you're giving refunds, and then you're basically dealing with upsets, and then you're dealing with bad reviews on social media, etc., etc. How many times have you gotten patients that come to you from other dental practices, right? And had a bad dental experience? It's a lot. We have patients right now that are on this dental carousel, hopping from practice to practice. Why? Because they've been let down, because their expectations have not been met. And it's not necessarily because they were getting bad dentistry. Because unfortunately, if it didn't look bad, it didn't hurt, they couldn't tell one procedure from the next. More than likely, most people, right? And I'll go back to what are the only 3 reasons why patients ever leave your practice. For those of you who haven't watched my earlier episodes, they move, they die, or you blew it. That's it, okay? And we can only control 2 of those. We can't control moving, can't control dying unless you did it yourself, hopefully not, all right? But we can control blowing it. And we blow it in so many ways in the service aspect that we do. Yet we invest so little money in the training and development of ourselves, your people, you doc, and your staff to get better. Because this makes or breaks you every single day. This is what separates you, right, in the minds and eyes of the consumers. Right? And we have a dental industry where patients in general equate that all dentists are the same, which is nuts. It's not the case. Right? But how are we going to rise above that when you're in a sea of dentists? Like where I am in the New York metropolitan area in Jersey, man, there's dentists everywhere, right? If you're out there listening to this in the middle of nowhere someplace and you're the only dentist with 50 miles, fine. You pretty much can do what you want, but people are going to come to you no matter what because they have no choice. But here, when we have 20 dentists in one building, potentially, in one high-rise, potentially, right? In one town, when there could be 100 dentists in a town, they have choices and they have options. Right? And they basically will come to you and they will remember the experience that we create there. So you cannot operate in this day and age without making service the number one thing. The clinical ministry is going to come. I'm assuming that everybody watching these videos their clinical skills are solid. And you know what? I know that even if they're not completely where you want to be, if you're younger, you're going to improve on them because you're required to. You have to take an ongoing clinical CE, and you continue to work on your craft, and you're going to practice on patients, and you get it better and better at what you do. But the one thing you just can't mess around with is the trial and error of the service aspect of things. You think Disney goes about that every day? You think the Ritz-Carlton goes about that every day? We'll just do trial and error every day and see how it goes with our clientele and still try to charge them a lot of money. It's not going to work. Well, and again, in people's minds, dentistry is expensive. This is a high cost item for people to invest in. Because they know that dental insurance is limited, it's pretty much crap, so a lot of this is coming out of their pocket. So we have to have flawless service. So you cannot go to work, you can try to, with staff every day that are unmotivated, untrained, disinterested, uncaring, adversarial, disinterested, not supporting you, not motivated or enthusiastic about dentistry and what it does for other people, right? And supporting your purpose and goals, which are all about that day, right? And you can't, Doc, go in every day and not be motivated and be a strong leader to want to say, look, you know what? We're up to big stuff here. We want to make things happen. I care about what I do, and I'm going to inspire, motivate, and lead this team, right? But it starts with the kind of people you hire. I cannot tell you how many times I go into a dental practice and we analyze this team, and it's just workers. There are people that are untrained that should not be there. At least start off with having someone who has a personality that cares about individuals. Train the rest from there. But even then, it's not enough to have that. You have to have people that know what they're doing. How are they going to get to know what they're doing? How are they going to be professional at what they do? You train the heck out of them. It's the best investment you can make. This is not something that you should just say, well, I'll spend a fortune in new chairs and that laser and that new unit, the X-ray unit, and on, right? You have to spend some money and invest in training and development of yourself and your people, because that's what all the top companies do that are service industry companies. They invest in their people, right, to make them the best they can possibly be. I'm not saying about being perfect, but you want to have them be optimum, best possible, right? Because that's how you win this game every single day. By being, again, dead on, spot on with your service, especially when it comes to a field like dentistry. We got to be doing it better than anybody else in order to succeed in this game, right? So again, take this gut check video to heart. That's why I share one of the ones like this. It will make a massive difference in your life, a massive difference in your bottom line when you start investing in yourself to become better professionals, investing in yourself and your team to become better professionals in your practice. Hope you enjoy watching these videos. If you have some topics you want to share with me to share in the future videos, please share them there. But we hope you will also share these videos with other people. And I'll be back hopefully sooner with one again near future.